You spend your whole life pouring love into someone. You sacrifice. You struggle. You give up dreams you once had just to give them a chance at theirs. You tell yourself, it's worth it. Every sleepless night, every skipped meal, every aching bone after another double shift, it's all worth it because one day they'll understand. One day they'll look you in the eye and say, "Thank you, Mom. I wouldn't be here without you." At least that's what you believe. That's what keeps you going when life is brutal and unfair. But sometimes that day never comes. Sometimes the moment they taste freedom, they spit you out. Sometimes the second they get their hands on money, you become invisible. And then one inheritance, one check, one phone call, and suddenly you're nothing. That's what happened to me. When my son's uncle passed away, grief hung heavy in the air. We mourned, we cried, we clung to each other. Or at least, I thought we did. Because not long after the funeral, a lawyer sat us down, and when the papers were read, my son, my only child, walked out of that office $15 million richer. $15 million. It felt surreal. I looked at him, expecting joy, yes, but also humility, gratitude, some sign that he understood the weight of what had just happened. Instead, he smirked. He smirked like the world had finally bent down to kiss his feet, and that was the beginning of the end. The first words he said to me still sting. "Mom, I don't need you anymore." Do you know how that feels? To raise a child through sleepless nights, to wipe fevers off their forehead, to walk miles just to buy groceries on sale, only to hear, "I don't need you." I stood there frozen. My heart cracked into 1,000 pieces. I tried to laugh it off. I told myself he was overwhelmed, maybe joking, maybe just caught up in the moment. But he wasn't. Within days, everything changed. The boy who once begged me for gas money was now flashing $100 bills like they were tissue paper. The boy who used to share every meal with me was now dining in restaurants with names I couldn't even pronounce. And the worst part? He flaunted it. Photos on social media, videos with his new friends, captions dripping with arrogance. From broke to boss. Don't need nobody now. Only rolling with winners. And when I saw it, the way he left me out of his story erased me from his life. It hurt more than words can say. You see, I didn't raise him with much. We didn't have luxury. We didn't have security. But we had love. I worked 2 jobs, sometimes 3. I wore shoes with holes so he could have new ones for school. I went hungry so he could eat. I spent nights scrubbing offices until my hands bled, just to make rent. And through it all, I told myself it was worth it. Because one day, he'd look back and know his mom gave everything. But instead, the moment money touched his hands, he threw me away like I was holding him back. He bought a mansion on the edge of town. 6 bedrooms, a pool the size of our old apartment building, marble floors, chandeliers, a garage lined with shiny cars he didn't even know how to drive. And I wasn't welcome. He threw parties, wild, loud, reckless parties. Strangers filled the halls. Liquor flowed like water. Music shook the walls. And in the middle of it all was my son laughing, surrounded, worshipped. Not once did he call me. Not once did he invite me over. Not once did he say, "Mom, come see the life you helped me reach." It was as if I had never existed. I tried calling him. He didn't answer. I sent messages, left voicemails. He read them, ignored them, and went back to his so-called friends. Finally, I showed up at his mansion. I knocked on the door. A young man I'd never seen before answered. He looked me up and down, sneered, and said, "Sorry, only invited guests." Invited guests? Imagine being locked out of your own child's life like you're a stranger. The pain cut deep, but what made it worse was what came after. One evening, I finally caught him outside. I ran up, called his name, hugged him, and do you know what he did? He pulled away. He looked me in the eye, cold as ice, and said, "Mom, I don't need your negativity. I'm moving forward. You're stuck in the past. Negativity." That's what he called me. The woman who sacrificed her youth, her health, her dreams. The woman who worked her body to the bone just so he could survive. Negativity. From that day on, it was official. I wasn't part of his life anymore. He had money. He had cars. He had friends who cheered when he spent and vanished when he stopped. And me? I was the ghost of his past. But let me tell you something. Money is loud. But silence? Silence tells the truth. And as I sat alone in my tiny kitchen, staring at the empty chair where my son used to eat, I realized something. Money doesn't change people. It reveals them. And the boy I raised, the boy I thought I knew, the boy who once held my hand and promised he'd always take care of me, he was gone. Or maybe he was never really there at all. Every night, I replayed it in my head. The smirk, the words, "Mom, I don't need you." And every night, I asked myself, what did I do wrong? Where did I fail? How could the child I gave everything to turn around and treat me like nothing? But life has a way of circling back. Life has a way of testing pride. And while my son was living his best life, surrounded by people who only loved him for his money, a storm was brewing. A storm he never saw coming. And when it hit harder than he could have ever imagined. But that's part 2 of the story. They say pride comes before the fall, but no one tells you just how fast and just how far the fall can be. For my son, it took only 7 days. 7 days for $15 million to start slipping through his fingers like sand. 7 days for the glitter to lose its shine. 7 days for reality to sink its claws into him. And it all began with the friends he trusted most. His mansion was never quiet. Music thumped until sunrise. Cars lined the driveway like trophies. Every night, strangers toasted to his success. Every night, more money vanished. They told him he was untouchable. They told him he was brilliant. They told him, "This is just the beginning, man. You'll triple that inheritance in no time." And he believed them. Why wouldn't he? When people clap for every reckless decision, it's easy to think you're a genius. When they raise their glasses to your future empire, it's easy to forget they're drinking on your dime. The first scheme came quick. A smooth talker in a sharp suit promised my son a crypto investment that would double his money overnight. All he had to do was wire over $2 million. And he did. No research, no hesitation, just blind faith in a stranger's smile. The money vanished. So did the man in the suit. But my son shrugged it off. "Easy come, easy go," he laughed. "Besides, I'll make it back tomorrow." Tomorrow came with another deal. A friend of a friend said they could flip his money in real estate. They took $3 million, bought nothing, disappeared. Still, he didn't stop. Still, he threw cash at anyone who promised him more. Because greed is a disease. And my son was infected. Meanwhile, the parties grew wilder. Stacks of bills tossed in the air. Bottles of champagne worth more than my monthly rent, emptied in minutes. Designer clothes worn once and tossed aside. It was a carnival of excess. And everyone around him cheered, because none of them had anything to lose. Except him. By day 5, cracks began to show. Bank calls, overdraft warnings, investments collapsing one after another. But he ignored them. He drowned the warnings in alcohol and music. He laughed louder, spent faster, danced harder. Because when you're falling, denial feels safer than admitting you've already hit the edge. By day 6, the friends started thinning out. The ones who promised loyalty suddenly had other plans. The phone calls slowed. The cheers grew quiet. Because vultures don't stick around when the carcass is bare. And that's when reality punched him in the gut. Day 7, 2:37 a.m. My door rattled with desperate knocking. I dragged myself out of bed, heart racing. Who could it be at this hour? When I opened the door, I froze. There he was, my son. The same boy who had tossed me aside. The same boy who told me I was nothing but negativity. But now, his face was pale, his eyes swollen from crying, his clothes wrinkled, stained. A shadow of the designer outfits he'd flaunted online. He collapsed into my arms before I could even speak. Through gasps and sobs, the truth poured out. The crypto scam drained millions. The real estate scheme stole more. The parties, the cars, the endless nights of excess, they ate through the rest. 7 days. 7 days and $15 million. Gone. Every single penny. And the so-called friends? The ones who toasted his name, swore loyalty, promised forever? They vanished. Phones disconnected. Numbers blocked. Faces that once smiled at him now nowhere to be found. He was alone. Completely, utterly alone. Except for me. "Mom, he sobbed. I messed up. I need you. Please, please help me. The same lips that once said, I don't need you anymore, now begged for the mother he had thrown away. And I'll be honest, in that moment, my heart was torn in two, because part of me wanted to slam the door. Part of me wanted to say, you made your choice. Now, live with it. But another part of me, the part that still remembered the little boy clutching my hand on his first day of school, the part that still remembered the child who used to whisper, I love you, Mom, before bed, that part couldn't just turn him away. Still, I didn't make it easy. I pulled back. I looked him in the eye, and I said, money will come and go, but respect? That's priceless. You broke my heart. You left me behind, and now you expect me to fix your mess? He dropped to his knees, begging, sobbing, swearing he finally understood what mattered. For the first time in days, maybe weeks, he wasn't the arrogant man flashing cash. He wasn't the spoiled child drowning in greed. He was my son again, broken, human, humbled. And that's when I realized something. This wasn't about the money. It never was. This was about teaching him a lesson life hadn't managed to teach yet. So yes, I helped him, but not with handouts, not with pity, with conditions. If he wanted my help, he had to earn back my trust. Step by step, choice by choice, day by day, because fortunes vanish overnight. But family? Family lasts forever if you choose to value it. And for the first time in his life, my son finally understood the difference. That was the fall, the crash after the climb, the humbling after the pride. And as much as it broke me to watch him fall, maybe it was the only way for him to finally rise. When someone you love betrays you, the wound cuts deep. But when that same person comes crawling back, broken and desperate, it forces you to face a question you never thought you'd have to answer. Do I forgive or do I turn away? That was the question staring me in the face when my son fell to his knees in front of me. He was unrecognizable. Not the boy I raised. Not the man who once strutted around flashing money like a trophy. But a shadow. A broken, trembling shadow. His clothes were wrinkled. His hair messy. His eyes bloodshot. Swollen from days of crying. His hands shook as he clutched mine. Mom, he whispered, I lost everything. I don't know what to do. Please, I need you. Those words, they sliced through me like a knife. Because they were the same lips that once said, I don't need you anymore. I pulled my hands back, not out of cruelty, but because I needed him to understand this wasn't simple. Everything? I asked. He nodded, tears streaming down his face. Every penny, every car, every friend, they're all gone. They used me, Mom. They drained me. And when I had nothing left, they disappeared. I studied him. This was the same boy who laughed when I begged him to be careful. The same boy who sneered at me, called me negativity, tossed me aside like I didn't matter. And now, here he was, begging for the very thing he thought he didn't need. My love, my guidance, my presence. Tell me everything, I said. And he did. For hours. He spilled it all. The scams, the fake investments, the wild spending, the friends who cheered every reckless choice. He told me about the crypto deal that swallowed millions, the real estate scam that wiped out more, the nights of endless parties, the bottles that cost more than rent, the cars he bought just to show off, only to abandon them a week later. He confessed it all, every foolish decision, every arrogant thought, every selfish choice. And as the words poured out, so did the tears. I thought they loved me, he choked. They said they'd never leave. They said I was family. But the second the money ran out, so did they. I was just their wallet. Nothing more. His voice broke. He buried his face in his hands. And for the first time, I saw the truth. My son wasn't just broke. He was shattered. But still, anger boiled in me. Do you remember what you said to me? I asked quietly. He looked up, confused. What? I stared straight into his eyes. You told me you didn't need me. You told me I was negativity. You threw me away like trash. Do you remember? His face crumbled. Tears spilled faster. Mom, I didn't mean it. I was stupid. I was blind. Please, I can't do this without you. I know I broke your heart. I know I failed you. But I need you now more than ever. The silence between us was heavy. Every second stretched like an eternity. I thought of all the years I'd sacrificed, the double shifts, The sleepless nights. The birthdays where I gave him the only gift I could afford and prayed it was enough. I thought of the day he looked me in the eye and told me I was nothing. The day he slammed the door on my love. The nights I cried alone, wondering how the boy I raised could betray me so deeply. And now, here he was, broken, begging for the very love he once rejected. "Do you understand what you did to me?" I asked. He nodded frantically. "Yes. Yes, I do. I destroyed the one person who truly loved me. I threw you away, and it was the biggest mistake of my life. Do you understand that trust isn't free?" I pressed. "Yes," he whispered. "I'll do whatever it takes to earn it back. Do you understand that money doesn't make you a man?" "Yes," he said, his voice cracking. "I know that now. I lost everything because I thought money was everything. I see it now, Mom. I see it." And in that moment, I realized something. This wasn't just my son confessing. This was him crumbling. This was him finally seeing the truth. Money didn't make him strong. It made him weak. It didn't make him loved. It made him used. It didn't make him free. It made him a prisoner. And now, with nothing left, he finally saw the value of the one thing he couldn't buy: family. So I made my choice. I reached out. I lifted him off the floor. I looked him in the eye, and I said, "I'll help you, but not because you lost the money, not because you're desperate. I'll help you because you're my son. But understand this, you have to change. You have to rebuild, not just your life, but your character. And if you want my trust again, you'll earn it, day by day, step by step." He nodded, tears streaming down his face. "I will. I promise. I'll never make the same mistake again." It wasn't forgiveness. Not yet. It was a beginning. Because forgiveness isn't cheap. Forgiveness is earned. And he had a long road ahead of him. But for the first time in a long time, I saw something in his eyes. Not arrogance. Not greed. Note, entitlement. Humility. Gratitude. Hope. That night, he slept on my couch. Not in silk sheets. Not in a mansion. But on a worn couch in a tiny living room, wrapped in a blanket I'd owned for decades. And for the first time in years, he slept peacefully. Because money never gave him peace. But family did. The next morning, over black coffee and toast, we began again. He told me he wanted to rebuild. Not just his life, but himself. And I believed him, because sometimes a fall isn't the end. Sometimes it's the only way to rise. That was the confession. That was the climax. The moment my son faced the wreckage of his choices and chose to change. And though the scars remain, so does the hope. Because money vanishes. Fortunes crumble. Friends betray. But family, when valued, can outlast it all. Forgiveness is easy to talk about, but living it, facing the one who broke you, and deciding what they truly deserve, that's the hardest test of all. And that's exactly the test I faced with my son. The morning after his confession, the house was quiet. Too quiet. I sat at the table, sipping my coffee, staring at him as he ate a piece of toast. He chewed slowly, his eyes downcast, like a child caught stealing cookies. This wasn't the confident man who flaunted millions. This was the boy I once held when he was sick, the boy who clung to me during thunderstorms. And yet, this was also the man who betrayed me, who threw me out of his life, like I was nothing. The contradiction tore at me. Part of me wanted to reach out, hug him, tell him it was all going to be okay. Another part of me wanted to slam the door in his face and remind him that choices have consequences. Finally, I broke the silence. "So what's your plan?" I asked. His head lifted, eyes wide. "My plan? Yes. You came here begging for help. But help doesn't mean I hand you a solution. You have to figure out how to fix this mess. So, what's your plan?" He hesitated. I don't know." I leaned forward. "Then you're not ready. Because if you want my forgiveness, my trust, my help, you need more than tears. You need action." His lip trembled. "But I don't have anything left. I don't even know where to start." I crossed my arms. "Then start by admitting that. And start small. You don't rebuild a fortune overnight. You don't rebuild trust overnight either. One step, one choice at a time." He swallowed hard. "Will you guide me, please?" I held his gaze. "I'll guide you. But understand this, you will do the work. I won't carry you. If you fail, it's on you. If you succeed, it's because you earned it. That day marked the beginning of his redemption. We started simple. He got a part-time job at a local diner, something he never imagined he'd do. The same boy who once tossed $1,000 tips without blinking now scrubbed dishes and wiped tables for minimum wage. And it humbled him. For weeks, he came home exhausted, his hands raw from work. But slowly, I saw something changing. The arrogance drained from his eyes. The entitlement faded. And for the first time in years, he listened. One evening, after a long shift, he sat at the table, shoulders slumped. I used to laugh at people who worked like this, he admitted. I thought I was better. I thought money made me above it. But now I see it. I see the value of every dollar. I see how hard you worked all those years just to keep us alive. I'm ashamed, Mom, truly ashamed. His voice cracked, and for the first time, I saw genuine remorse, not for losing the money, but for hurting me. But forgiveness wasn't instant. One night, I confronted him. Do you understand what it meant when you threw me out? I asked. He nodded. I do. It meant I chose strangers over you. It meant I valued money more than the woman who gave me everything. It meant I broke the bond that should have been unbreakable, and I regret it every single day. Tears welled in his eyes. I don't expect you to forgive me overnight. I just hope you'll let me prove I can be better. That was the confrontation. The raw, unfiltered truth. The wound reopened so it could finally heal. And I realized something. Forgiveness isn't about erasing the past. It's about deciding the past won't control the future. So I made my choice. I forgive you, I said softly. His head snapped up, eyes wide. But listen to me. This forgiveness is not a free pass. It's a responsibility. You have to live every day proving that my forgiveness wasn't wasted. He nodded furiously, tears falling. I will. I swear I will. From that day forward, things changed. He worked harder. He humbled himself. He started saving money, not millions, but enough. And slowly, step by step, he rebuilt. Not the flashy life he once had, but a real life, a grounded life. And as I watched him grow, I realized something too. Sometimes, losing everything is the only way to gain what matters most. The confrontation had been painful. The resolution was far from simple. But in the end, we found our way back, not to where we once were, but to something stronger. Because respect was restored, trust was being rebuilt, and love endured. And so the lesson is this: money can vanish, fortunes can crumble, friends can betray, but family, when given the chance to heal, can outlast it all. Would I erase the pain if I could? No, because that pain became the fire that reshaped my son. He may have gained 15 million once, but losing it taught him something priceless. And in the end, that lesson was worth far more than money could ever buy.